I don't know, I've always loved playing in the snow. It was just so epic because we had these drones on set and I was in this big gray wool cape running through the snow, underneath which I had snow pants most of the time and not just the dress that I was wearing in the scene.
What I remember from filming the Siberia stuff was that it was freezing cold. So I'm like, don't be cold, don't be cold, don't be cold. And then as soon as they call action, I walk out and I'm trying to be evil and creepy and run after her, while also my entire body was like, hey bro, you're freezing. Could you like do something about it? I remember Matt coming up to me and saying, it'd be great if you didn't chatter your teeth. And I was like, okay, yeah, I could do that.
After a while it did get cold, but that's, you know, that's what tea and soup are for, right? I have an amazing stunt double who did the tumble down the hill practically. And because of that, she couldn't be in the snow pants, so she had to be in the leather leggings and the boots. She is such a badass. I've looked up to her for years.
Larry!
My stunt double Joey Rackie did the most incredible job running down that hill, because what you couldn't actually see was there was just a sheet of ice underneath that snow. And so when you put your foot in it, you just hit like ice. And when he went to pick up Kat the first time, he just completely fell over. And I'm watching, thinking, thank God that isn't me. It was an amazing scene. I've seen a little bit of it, and it looks incredible.
I got Paris on my mind.
Shooting in Paris was pretty spectacular. I mean, Paris is beautiful. I got to work with some of my favorite people in the world.
Everybody stand down!
In a foreign country. It was amazing.
Shooting in Paris was certainly no hardship. It was so magical. I think everyone really was inspired by the city.
There was some really surreal moments of being on set and looking up and seeing the Eiffel Tower, one of the most beautiful sights in the world, and then having to cry and scream about opening a rift to hell.
You little bitch!
Having the Eiffel Tower in the background of some of your shots is incredible.
I always had this dream that one day I'd take you to Paris.
Well, here we are. All right, let's get this over with.
It's gonna be painful. Sure you're ready for that?
The more it hurts me, the more it hurts Jonathan. That scene was really interesting because we were still discovering the demonic twinning rune and what it does and sort of where all of those powers lie. You know, something I've learned through Shadowhunters is that there are times where you have these moments that are supposed to be very dramatic that become a little laughable because there's so much that happens in post-production that what we're doing feels a little ridiculous. You know, drawing things in the air or, you know, crafting magic. Or, you know, burning something off your neck that kind of looks like you're using a TV remote.
I'm not 100% sure it isn't a TV remote that they painted silver. And I remember that the first time I used it when I burnt the circle off of Valentine. It looks like a TV remote, and I was pretty sure that's what it is.
Or, you know, you're in a quiet studio and you're doing this really intimate scene and you have to scream. And your scream is echoing throughout the studio and everyone's just sitting there behind the cameras, quiet as a mouse.
Kat has a very high-pitched scream, which is, you know, great. She was supposed to look like she was in pain, but I spent quite a lot of it being like, it's in my ears. I'm not really gonna forget that sound ever.
You know, you learn to deal with these moments and enjoy them for what they are. Bring it. So Todd and Darren, our showrunners, call me up and they say, hey, so, you ice skate, right? Well, it's been a while since I've been on the ice. And I go, no, I don't. Why? They go, we were ice skating in episode 314. What gave you this idea? So I say, on this date, I get to be really bad at ice skating and Jace gets to be really good at ice skating, right? They're like, oh, no, you're gonna be really good at it because Clary grew up in New York and Dom has to be bad at it. So thoughtful. You got it?
So the skating rink scene,
Yeah.
I actually can ice skate fairly well, and Kat was a little more nervous. She got quite good at it with the trainer quite quickly.
It's one of those situations where I had a great team around me who helped me learn what I needed to know, and thank goodness Dom was there too because we got each other through it.
When she's backwards, I was guiding her and making sure she was upright. But then still, I had to look like I was terrible at it.
But you know, you pull yourself up by your skate laces and get through it.
It's not me, by the way. It's the skates.
I see. Your Valentine's daughter?
Unfortunately.
It's nice to finally meet you.
Episode 315 was one of my favorites. It's the first time Clary starts to kind of flicker into that dark side and has this huge epic fight with Aileen, which is one of my favorite fights I've ever done on the show, one of the most difficult fights I've ever done on the show.
Is it really that hard to recognize your own brother?
When we choreographed it, I think it was a 2.5 minute long fight with 5 pages of dialogue.
I heard your brother was in New York. That hurt? Good. I want Jonathan to feel it.
It was heavy, but I had so much fun. Because not only is Jackie amazing to work with, and she and I really took a lot of time, even off set, practicing the fight and making sure we got it down. You know, we had new weapons, we had new elements that we'd never done before, things we'd never used, and she and I had never worked together before either. Everything kind of came together beautifully in the end. It was fun. And one of my favorite things about fight scenes is you really are immersed in the moment because you are experiencing physically exactly what your character would be. You are in the blood, sweat, and tears with her in that moment, and there's nothing better.
Hey, hey, hey!
Good to dance.
So when I first found out about the dancing scene, I said to myself, that's great.
What? I'm just remembering Havana. Salsa dancing at the Tropicana. I still have nightmares of your 2 left feet.
So it's like, here, we're gonna have you go play tennis with Roger Federer.
Okay.
And you're gonna do great.
Choreographer Chris Judd, who I'm friends with, who was teaching Matt the dance through Skype. And I remember walking into it and then seeing Matt getting really involved with it and wanting to get this right. You know, he's very athletic. So you watch it and you're like, oh, this guy can dance, even though he's never danced with choreographer, teaching steps and moves.
Harry helped. We went through it and we practiced a lot.
Agnes, I do believe you're speechless. I'm a lot of things right now, Alexander.
And I saw a little hint of him like, I kind of like this.
I had good fun doing it. Dancing's fun. And I think it came out all right.
I think it's gonna be really beautiful, and I think it turned out great.
You're hiding something.
I'm not. In that episode, I am chained in a cell, and it was not fun because I was in there all day. It's kind of a process to get inside a straitjacket. There's a lot of buckles to get inside chains. There's a lot of clips to get a mask on. There's things. And so it's like one of those situations where you don't know what's better, to stay in it all day and just like hang there and just be like, this is what's happening, or to get out of it because it's such a process.
I'm sorry, Jonathan. I'm sorry. This is the way it has to be.
Poor Luke, not only being in chains, but in a straitjacket. And these particular chains, because you really saw every angle of them, the shackles had to be held together with a pin. So it's not something he could get in and out of himself, and it's not something that was quick.
It was great to have Kat and Dom there. Dom was holding my arms between takes, and Kat was giving me tea.
Don't worry, I won't bite.
And also scratching my nose because I had an itch that was impossible to scratch. So it was great to have friends on set to do those scenes.
Harry?
We kind of put our shoulder under his arm to support it as much as we could, because that gets tiring.
Harry! Harry!
Guys, look.
Several patrols around the city have reported more Drevik demon attacks. Remember, Dreviks are like bees. If you kill the queen, her offspring die instantly.
That's the hardest thing about working with entire CGI, is forgetting sometimes where things are and having to completely imagine them.
You're in my way, Your Highness.
Everyone has to be on the same page. What you're doing physically does not exist. So if everyone's looking a different direction or everyone's reacting at a different level of scary, it's not gonna look right.
The Drevik demons, well, before you see it as a Drevik demon, it's basically a guy in a black bodysuit with a stick coming out of his head with a tennis ball on the top.
Where do you think you're going?
George, one of our amazing stunt guys, played one of the Dravik demons. The biggest thing I had a problem with is I tried to look George in the face, and he would sort of be doing this under his morph suit. I'm like, what are you doing, mate? What's going on? Like, I'm mid-scene, stop doing that. And he goes, you're not looking at my face. The face is up there, buddy. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Ruined that one. Okay, let's go again.
You're late. Better late than never.
But seeing the monsters when they come together, it's so terrifyingly, disgustingly epic that it's all worthwhile.
So the prop needle was pretty big. I did poke him at one point. Just kidding, I didn't.
How big? That's big. I'm not really afraid of needles, thankfully. I'm very good at, I like to watch it and be like, whoa, because I think it's kind of a weird thing.
I made sure that I was careful. I think I was actually putting the needle towards the pillow instead of him.
But then also it was rubber, so when she did try to do it, it would just bend.
Well, I don't hate Alberto, so he was lucky.
Imagine you're Superman and Clary is Lois Lane.
The relationship between Isabel and Simon has been, a friendship. And now it's changing, to be a love interest.
You watched Superman. When did this world-shattering event happen? Now we've known each other for 3 years. To finally start doing the sizzy things is a little weird because it's been a slow burn for so long. The hot girl doesn't see the geeky guy with glasses until the hot girl realizes that the geeky guy is totally awesome. If she just saw him for who he really is.
Stay, walk with your demons.
I guess Lois just needed some time to see what was right in front of her.
This is something that the fans are really, excited for, and this is the relationship that no one has seen yet. We are putting our hearts and our souls into this relationship.
You always go on about how great these superhero movies are, so I wanted to see what the fuss was about.
And we get to really have taken the time and care to build it in the best way and then kind of let it do its own thing.
In the episode City of Glass, we have this huge fight scene that was shot outside.
That scene was epic. It was glorious versus the Morningstar sword.
It had been super cold in Toronto.
They created the Sealy Bridge and brought it to the woods. And there's drones on set and everything's flying around.
At this moment, Clary is the evil. Clary.
I told you what would happen if you got in my way again.
Isabella is trying to save her.
We're here for you, Clary.
It's gonna be beautiful because both of these swords are gonna light up in fire,
and it's just magic.
Go. I got him.
The hardest thing I had to do was to sprint from where Jonathan was all the way to where the girls and Simon was about 40 times, and I was all out sprinting, and by the end of it my legs were on fire, and they wanted me to do the sprint and actually grab the sword out of the earth, then launch into the air with the real metal sword, and then just before I'm about to stab Kat, don't stab Kat.
We have some takes where we do it with the sword, and we have to kind of pause and let him land and then place it under my arm. Or we have a prop that's just the hilt of the sword that he can come flying in with and actually make impact.
That was quite hard work. It was really difficult, and I stabbed myself in the leg once by accident, which really hurt. But I didn't stab Kat ever, so that was good.
Are you back?
I don't know how we got it all done, but somehow it happened.